Hey, good morning, everybody. It is my honor on this last day of 2020 to share a brief devotional thought with you, and it will be brief, but I hope for it to be meaningful. I know as we turn from 2020 to 2021, it seems like a big deal when actually the change of the calendar doesn't really mean that much. I have two lists. I have a list of things I have to get done before the end of the year or the end of the day today, and I have a list of things I'd like to do in 2021. And believe it or not, the Bible actually speaks to moments like this. In the book of James, chapter 4, I'm going to read just a couple of verses, starting with verse 13. It says, "Come now, you who say today or tomorrow we'll go to such and such a city, and we'll spend a year there, and we'll engage in business and make a profit. Yet you don't know what your life will be like tomorrow. You're just a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes away. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and also do this or that." And if you look at that little passage of scripture, it basically tells us three things. It tells us what we usually say. What we usually say is, here's the plan I'm going to carry out in the coming year. It tells us what God says, that our lives are like a vapor that only appears for a moment and then it's gone. And then it tells us what we ought to say. We ought to say at the beginning of the year, if the Lord wills, we will do this or that. So perhaps as we welcome in the new year this year, we ought to do it a little bit differently. Qualifying all our plans with a sincere statement, if the Lord wills, this is what we'll do, this is what we'll accomplish, this is the plan that we will carry out. I was reading just this morning that this year in Times Square, it will be only the third time since they started the whole tradition of the dropping of the ball, only the third time that people are not allowed in Times Square. There were two times that happened during World War II, but since 1904, there's been a celebration in Times Square every single year, with that exception of 2 years during World War II. In fact, when the whole thing began, they had a 700-pound ball made out of wood and iron that would drop, and they would actually set off dynamite in Times Square. And eventually they got wise to that and they stopped doing it. So this year they're going to be celebrating differently in Times Square. And what I'm suggesting to you today is that we celebrate a little bit differently today too. We look forward to the change in 2021. But also as we celebrate, we keep in mind what James reminded us of here. Come now, you who say today or tomorrow we're going to do such and such a thing. Instead, you ought to say the Lord wills. So I want to wish you a good ending to 2020 and a happy beginning to 2021. And I want to encourage you as you make your plans to say, this is the plan if it is the Lord's will. Have a great celebration tonight and a wonderful new year in 2021.